Hey everybody, this is Richie from the Metal Cell podcast. First of all, I want to give a shout out to our main sponsors, Rise and Sons, the award-winning brewery in Cork. If you're around, please call in and savour some of their beautiful beers. I've all the lads from the Grief here, Cork lads as well. So have any of you had a chance to go into the Rise and Sons and taste some of their lovely beers? Plug.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think
sure.
I was probably in there within the first week they were open. But
Really,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
It's a
it's a
lovely spot.
nice,
Yeah.
yeah, me Daz and a few other ones, yeah.
Good
So yeah,
stuff, but don't know if they're in Switzerland now. So
well, I'd
there's
say
only
you
one way to
can
find out.
take a few takeaways over there anyway, Steve.
Mm.
Yeah,
Right,
I think you can order. Go on.
right. Let's get into the details. I've the Grief here. I've got Steve over in Switzerland. I've Paul the guitarist, and I have Kieran there on bass. Welcome to the show, lads. Thanks for joining me.
Cheers.
Cheers,
Cheers
thanks.
on. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, I was going back over previous episodes. I was going, when was the last time I had the Grief on? I was thinking, yeah, it must have been around 2021 when kind of COVID. So, and then I fucking discovered you were never on as the Grief.
Really?
Yeah, it was Corvona, and I'd John on as Faroon.
I was sure we were
I,
on as a group.
you were asking me questions about sword fighting, and I
Yeah,
couldn't
Yeah, that's
answer them.
right.
The
Yeah.
lyrics and all
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
So did I combine that in with the core?
Well, we definitely did a Corona one as well. It was because
Yeah,
we all released albums during lockdown, remember?
Okay,
And we were on for both bands, I'm pretty sure.
so
I
that's
can certainly
interesting
remember
now.
the two boys, the two Quins in the one room, and John in his
Yeah.
studio.
Yeah.
So that was definitely. I wasn't part
Oh,
of that, but the three lads
so
were there as
maybe I
well.
went back too far then. It was more recent then, because I was convinced I went way back now because, as I said, I came across G and I came across John. So I think I might have went back too far. That's probably it.
Yeah. Could be
Yeah,
that.
because it was in my head
Maybe.
like that you were on it.
Yeah, I
Alright.
remember myself and Steve in the room next door here, actually. When you
Yes. Yeah. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
So you can research that. I'm sporting a Body Drinkers t-shirt tonight, lads. I don't know, did you notice that?
Nice.
Yes, that's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just about to make
We'll
it out.
we'll maybe talk about your gig in Fred Zeppelin's there. It's a few weeks back now. How did you feel coming into it? Were you nervous enough? I suppose with Steve being in Switzerland, maybe just develop that, Steve, in relation to when was the last time you saw the lads? And
I mean, I wasn't seeing them too often.
yeah,
Like, I come back every now and then, once or twice during the year. Actually, it seemed mostly to go and do a bit of recording in John's place, and then
okay.
afterwards meet family and stuff. Like, but
Priorities.
yeah, exactly. But we hadn't. I don't know if we'd ever actually jammed that stuff out. I think because of COVID and everything, we'd kind of just assembled the songs, and same as last time, I kind of put on the vocals towards the end. So yeah, the first practice that had all of us there, including Barry Tron. Yeah, was the day before.
It couldn't have been the day before the gig.
Yeah.
Before.
I flew in Wednesday night, and then we went out kind of earlyish on just after work on Thursday. We went through the set twice. So yeah, to be fair, I did feel a bit nervous because like we hadn't, I just put down the vocals and written the lyrics, and then not thought about it for many months afterwards, and then suddenly
Yeah.
with a gig, So
Yeah, I remember we were watching Shadows Calling. Shout out to Jen and all the lads there. The great support band actually during the night.
really cool.
And myself and Steve were watching, and I don't know, do you remember you were going, has she kind of got some kind of board holding up the lyrics?
Oh yeah.
Remember that? And I was going, yeah, she does, yeah. And Steve was going, fuck, what if I forget the lyrics? And I goes, nah, you'd be grand. You'd be grand. Jesus Christ, I got so many lyrics to remember.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Why didn't I think of that? Yeah.
Yeah, you killed it, man. You were fucking great. There was no worries in the end,
Cheers.
fair play to you. And we have to give a shout out. That's how the whole thing up. The Body Drinkers, they were absolutely brilliant, weren't they, lads?
Yep.
Yeah, it's
Solid
really good
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah.
Fantastic music.
Enjoy that,
Yeah.
Kieran. Would that be your cup of tea?
It would. I mean, I'm kind of in between probably where we sit, as the Grief kind of sits in between Body Drinkers and Shadows. So I'm more of the slow tempo kind of guy, but I mean, you could feel it watching the guys. Like, I mean, it was so intense, and it was, if I dare I say, kind of brutal music, but it was great, that everybody really got into it. I mean, there was, and they were received so well as well. It was a joy to have both of them in there with us, even though we were supposed to have four, but unfortunately COVID called and brought us down to
Once
three.
again.
So
Mm.
but it was great though.
Shout out to Brigante were supposed to play, but there was COVID got in the way basically on the night, so they couldn't make it down. Yeah,
it's unfortunate.
How did that affect you actually? Was the set longer or did you?
well, initially it's like, oh shit, like we have to deal with this now. With people are coming along expecting four bands, but it actually is okay because they gave us more time.
Okay.
So we could then like have more time between turnaround and stuff like that. So it was a more fluid evening, so it took a bit of the pressure off then. And if a band had an extra song or something, they could play it.
Yes. Okay, so that worked out okay. And say for someone now like yourself, Steve, like the songs themselves are incredible. The musicianship, lads, is just off the scale. I must congratulate you on that first. Fantastic effort by all of you. And then my worry then was, Steve, like I didn't know that you only had a day and a half, whatever, to do what you did. Like that's fucking insane. So, like when you're up on that stage, Steve, how good is the actual sound for a singer? Like you don't have, I don't imagine you have monitors feeding back to you that, or if you do, they're not great, probably, are they? Or what?
I think well, I mean, we all know and love Fred's for what it is, but there was only, I think, one monitor working on the night that we could get to work anyway. So I think we tried to angle it so it could hit everybody. But I mean, from my perspective, I was able to hear everything that I needed to hear myself. So and I could hear the other lads too. So, but yeah, it's. Well, the thing is, obviously, if you can't hear yourself when you're singing, then you're just going to go out of tune.
Yes.
So at least with the instruments, they kind of tend to stay in tune, So, but yeah, with the vocals, you've got to get some kind of feedback. But I think it was good. The only issue, and I think we found the same with the Corvona stuff, especially the earlier things. It's like you go for these low, I don't know, emotive pieces or something like that, like as in low in register, yeah. And then that kind of gets drowned out with everything else that's going on. So like I believe anyway, at least while we practiced, there were some parts where I was like, the second time that verse or that refrain came along, I was like, look, I'm just going to go an octave higher.
Yes.
Because like there's no point, because you guys can't make it out. I can barely make myself out. So it's just some stuff you have to do. And I guess that's fine because it was also like the new enough stuff, and it's not like people have been listening to this for years and knew, expected it to be a certain pitch or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem, but yeah.
Why I'm asking that is because I had Down on the show last week. It's not out yet, the episode, and that was fascinating. Are you aware of Down?
Yep.
Yeah. Fantastic
band.
The
Siege
yes,
week?
They did indeed.
2 weeks ago, sorry.
Yeah, it was incredible. The singer and bass player has in-ear monitors, and I was just wondering, is it something that you'd consider? But maybe not. I don't know. Are you playing enough gigs to warrant them?
We've thought of all sorts of things over the years. I suppose it's pretty more relevant to Corona than grief, but just because of trying to hit all the different things and do all different things at the same time. If you can just hear yourself singing, so you hear the other person singing, so you hear the harmonies and so on and so forth.
Yes. Yeah.
I have one thing I'd be afraid of is it would blow my eardrum, if someone really put it up high.
Yes.
But no, we definitely thought about that, yeah. Or even pedals to boost the volume when you go low, like just using a bit of tech just to help yourself out.
Yeah. Or have like a dedicated sound engineer who knows you're going for a low thing at that point. Well, but like that's a bit much to ask for,
I mean, if you're big enough, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you get that in Siege anyway.
Oh, Siege.
Yeah, you definitely would there.
The sound up there is incredible. Yeah,
it is. Okay, so let's talk about the album, The Crucible. I have it here on CD, and I got a free sticker as well. Cheers, lads.
Stick that in the guitar.
What?
Stick that in the bass there behind you.
I might. No. It'll go up in a There's a sticker wall behind me, so it'll take pride of place there. It's as I said, look, it's a fantastic album. I'll just read out the spiel that you put in it, so you can tell me then who wrote it. What it says is, we've chosen to challenge ourselves and the listener on this album with a few longer songs and wanted to keep the tracks on Crucible engaging for the listener at the same time. We're fortunate that we did have access to our own studio, so we were able to take our time writing and creating these songs, as there are no label or commercial pressures influencing us. In fact, we have written many songs over the last few years, and we look forward to releasing more music in the not so distant future. Mm-hmm. Yes, who put that together?
ChatGPT.
Okay.
No, I don't think, maybe was it out by then? Not sure. I think John put that together.
Yeah, that was John. Yeah. That was he put together the first blurb. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, like, when you say challenge yourselves, you can see straight away anyway on the first or second listen that the sound is bigger. You definitely took more, what would you say, risks? Not quite risks, like, but you definitely expanded your sound and built on the first two releases. What about it from your own point of view? Maybe we'll take Steve first of all, because did you play? I know you were a bassist anyway, Steve, and you probably can play guitar as well. Did you stay away from the musical side of it this time and just concentrate on singing and lyrics? Were you and if you did, were you happy to do that?
Well, actually, this time, I think during COVID, myself and Paul were back in the apartment. I'd worked out some doomy riffs, so is it not the Crucible? No, it's
in Temperance Lost. We incorporated a section from Steve in that.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's some stuff that we'd gone through before and started putting together. So yeah, so there's some guitar stuff in there for me basically. But like other than that, we kind of did it the same way as we did last time, where I just focused on putting the vocals together. Although this time, to be fair, the lads some bit more input in some ways. Like Paul, you did some recording. I mean, it's something we wanted, but also it was partially out of necessity with me being only able to come back every now and then. So for was it Temperance? No, it wasn't. It was
Icon of All Hope.
Yeah. Yeah. So there we have more, the two of us harmonizing together. But like in terms of the way we did compared to the last time, I get to have guitar riff in there and just had a better idea of how I wanted to do the vocals at that point. Because the very first time we recorded, first time we even practiced together for the last time around, I was just oohing and ahhing, which is probably the same thing I said in the last time I was on the show. So whereas this time it's like, we knew what we were doing a bit more when it came to recording anyway. Like myself and John had like a comfortable enough setup.
Okay.
So yeah. So it's from my perspective, things hadn't changed too much. Like
yeah.
Might be different for the lads, but
yeah. Kieran?
I'm fortunate enough in that I'm working with great musicians that are constantly writing. I don't know how they keep going. There's so much material there, that we already had writings, Paul, beforehand, and already there were more songs in the background that were coming through. Even with this now, even with the Crucible, that we have 9 tracks on that, and there's still another, I don't know how many, there's like 11 more tracks or something in the background that are floating around that we've kind of dabbled with and have some basic tracks laid down already to work on for the future. But I mean, the lads are constantly going, Paul and Steve and John, with Faroon and Corbona, so they're constantly working on stuff like that. So I'm fortunate enough to be in a position to stay back and let them work on what they want. I know what they want, and I'm happy enough to work along with that. And if there's any little additions that I can maybe, suggest or something like that, that I will put them in. And I have no problem, taking criticism or, saying, no, it's fine. Or, yeah, sure, that's great. So, I suppose, I mean, that's my main contribution, is just to be able to let the lads do their work.
Yes.
And hopefully work in with their stuff.
But to be fair, actually, you did provide some really good lyrics for Icon of All Hope, actually.
A little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like mixed it around just to fit in, but the body of it was there.
Yeah.
So the agony was there.
Was that, Steve?
Icon of All Hope.
Okay.
Icon.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Track 3.
So actually, track 3 that has. So actually quite a bit vocally then. So the three of us have some level of contribution. We're here.
Yeah,
that's true.
So that, yeah.
Paul, yourself?
What did I find different this time?
Yeah, and again, just the expanding of your sound as such.
Yeah, I think we kind of honed in a little bit more. Like I know some of the stuff I had in the first one had almost a black element to it.
Yeah.
We've kind of that's kind of gone from the new one. It's got more of a grief feel to it, whatever that is. We kind of know more now.
Yeah.
The sound is, and I think like John's been tipping away now in the studio above, and he's got a really good idea of what the sound is now. So it just sounds beefier. I think it's just a beefier sound overall. That really suits it because it's slow and heavy.
Yeah.
When it gets a little bit faster, it's only mid-paced. It really suits it overall. So I think that it ways get more confident with it all. Just know where we're going with it.
There's that. Yeah, there's definitely that to it. You can hear that, like, because it's melodic, it's melancholic, and there's this kind of sense of beauty about it as well, in a lot of ways, and that comes through the music, and obviously the bass Steve is singing it.
Yeah.
So, like, the creative process, writing words and music for this can sometimes feel. You'd often hear it, like musicians would be straight up saying, "Look, it's like a fucking labor sometimes," But like in other ways, then some would say it's almost spiritual. And would you experience even spirituality making this type of music, lads? I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I think so. At times, like, the creative process can be absolutely amazing, and it can be extremely difficult as well. You just said both. It goes from one end to the other.
Yeah.
But there's nothing like it when it's flowing.
Yes.
Yeah, flow for sure.
Like I said, for example, is what songs I've written, I put them in there, and I'm used to doing my own vocals and stuff, but I just leave them to Steve, and Steve comes up with this amazing stuff over top of it, and that feels great. Like he's telling a story over it, like, and you've got the notes in the guitars and stuff, but he's giving it words, like, so that feels quite spiritual, I suppose. Yep. Because then you hear it's like what the story is, to this thing you've written. So yeah, that's what I'd say there.
I think that's great. Like with the, and that you start just with your basic riffs and the music that goes into the background, and then Steve obviously has the idea of the story that he wants to bring to it, and that adds to the music. And then I think that kind of whole atmosphere comes together when the sound, when the music is brought together with the lyrics, and then that kind of enables you to kind of polish it off, I suppose, and in general feel of how the music goes. That when you're mixing it, or when you're, whatever you want to do with the music, and you can add little bits to it here and there that you might not have thought of to give it a bit more depth, I suppose.
Yeah, depth. Yes. Like, I mean, would you describe then? I'll throw this to you, Paul. That your relationship with melody and harmony, is it complex when writing music for a kind of a doom-infused band?
Is it complex, like the actual level of musicianship with it? Yeah, it can be if you want it to be, But you,
like, how do you yourself and John work with that in relation to the melody and the harmony? Because as you said, it was more blackened music.
There's an element to that, a small bit,
but
a different style of doom.
It's different now. And as you said, you've infused it with melody and harmony. So, like, is it a complex relationship as a guitarist, to decide when?
It definitely just comes to decide when. I think we know more now when to have it more simplistic. I'd say that's a thing that's happened in this
release.
That's
a skill, isn't it, in itself?
Yeah,
yes, very much so, yeah.
A complex riff or a simple riff can be good or bad, but it's very hard to write a simple riff well.
Yeah.
Because it's been done a million times, Like, it's very hard to have an original riff that's that simple. But I think we've been at this for years anyway, so you kind of know, like, if it's complex, it should be for a reason, So you've got, like, a really cool harmony or a good counterpoint or something like that going on. I think at times there's some songs in there that I've written that are more complex, and I really like it. And then I'm quite happy with just some simple, straight up, heavy, catchy riffs that are in there too. So overall, I think a little simpler this time, but there still is complex moments in there.
Yeah, and can you talk maybe for John in relation to how he'd approach those thoughts? Are you similar enough as guitarists, we'll say?
No, I'd say John's very good at honing in on those simpler, catchy riffs and stuff. I think my thing over the years is like trying to not overcomplicate things, because I like to think of, if you throw too much stuff at something, there's no point,
Yeah.
So I'd say, yeah, we have different styles, yeah. Like John's songs are drop D, for example, and I'm concert pitch. That's just the way we learned to play. Okay. And that means that the riffs are different, Yes. And you come up with different notes, so you could hear it in the sound like there's something slightly different going on if you don't know what it is. Mm-hmm. But that definitely gives a difference to the sound. And maybe in structure, like I've definitely simplified the structures this time, but to be a bit more structure-wise. Where I think John is very good at just getting it down to something more simple, like So.
And marrying that then, Steve, with your vocal performance is that sometimes it's difficult?
It can be.
Like, is there any? Can you name maybe two tracks off the album that you struggled with in relation to,
So the struggle is that, like, if the song has some complexity to it, like it works both ways in both scenarios, when it's complex and when it's simplistic. Because if it's simplistic, then you're kind of like, okay, well, I'll just sing the same thing here again and again. And then I'm like, how am I supposed to inject something to this to make it kind of jump out for me?
Yes.
Because I want to enjoy this, right? But then if it's in another way, then that when it's simple, it gives space for the vocals to do some epic stuff, Yeah. So to put it maybe front and center or something like that. So, but then when it's complex, you don't want to take too much from what else is going on with the music with your vocals.
Yes.
But then it makes it easier to kind of structure the song for vocals because there's very clear changes, motifs going through it that you can just latch onto and go, okay, this is cool. I'm going to do something over this.
Okay.
Or I'm going to harmonize with this. So the creative process is absolutely fucking cool to when you get down to it. Like, but it can be tough that way as well. So, like I think we were saying earlier, just that it can be a head wrecker, but then when you catch like something very cool, then you can just go with it. Like this, if there were a few moments when we recorded where we needed some more vocals in there and I had prepared nothing. So I just went off and like gestated in the corner for a bit while, John and Paul were chatting and I come up like, right, I've got something here and go with it and then iron it out. Like, so all that stuff is just really cool as just a thing to experience, this flow basically. Because you can't go wrong either when you're recording, like, well, unless it's just bad to begin with or you're out of tune or something, but you have time to go back and play with it and see how
we have time out. As well because it's in our own time we've done this.
And that's important.
That's true. That's very
important, true. Really, isn't it? That's a key element to this the construction of this album, even like that you had the time. You weren't under pressure, especially Steve, since you're not even in the country. No, I know you can do it remotely and stuff, but still, would you agree with that, Kieran? The more time, the
better. Yeah, it can be. I mean, there's obviously you want to put some kind of a limit on yourself, in getting stuff out there because you have ideas you want to push and you want to get the music out there while the attention is still there, maybe coming off the back of the last one, that you want to, work on that and making sure that people are aware that you're still working on things and get things out as well. So you want to put a bit of a limit on yourself as well to get things done. But we do have that freedom, not just because we live hundreds of miles or thousands of miles apart from each other and that we have our own time to do these things, but we're not all stuck in a rehearsal room for weeks or months on end working on things, that we have our own ideas and we just come with them and meet up every so often and bring what's there, whether it's the music or the lyrics, and bring them all together and see what we can mash up with those. But generally, I think it's great that like Paul will have a lot of stuff and he'll have almost complete songs that he'll record away on his own, and John will do the same, and Steve will record some lyrics as well, in the background, and that all kind of comes together, and you pass on all these notes to everyone, and we just take our time to study and work through them. And if we ever get an occasion, whether it's myself and Paul heading down to John's, just to work through those things, and Steve zooms in and has a watch, just to see how we're doing.
Big brother.
But it's great that we can work with
on the big screen
and
too.
the lads can send stuff to me, and I can work on it on my own here, and the lads can work on their own as well. So that when you're ready, we just head to John's or whatever we do, and then work away. So it's fine. We're not in a rush or a panic. There's nobody on our backs pushing us to get it out, except for ourselves. Which is fine. And if we ever feel like we need to push something, then we just send a WhatsApp. Let's do something. Okay, let's go. And that's the way it works. And it's fine, and it suits us fine as well, I think.
It works for you,
yeah.
Like this music, along with some of my favorite albums, is extraordinary in its capacity to completely alter us on an emotional level, I find. Especially, when you're on your own, listen to it on the headphones, in your own private world. Like the mysterious act of creation and our relationship with particular songs, everything seems to change when you listen to them when you're on your own. So how does it feel for you to experience that? Like,
you mean like in general?
In general, and then talking about your own stuff, obviously, as well.
I totally get what you mean. And it's a very special feeling, enjoying, experiencing music by yourself. Yeah. I don't know, I feel really proud of the music we make, and I'd say the same for the other bands I'm in. And I find it it's a very spiritual experience hearing stuff. You overhear it then, and you don't want to hear it again for a while, basically.
Okay,
but
that's fair enough too.
Yeah, but when you get the first mix in, for example, or first master in,
Yeah.
I'd love it. I'm listening through it for hours and stuff, but you're just really enjoying it. Well, I am anyway. I've heard from other people that maybe they don't feel the same, but that's my take on it anyway. I really enjoy going to mix and stuff.
And that's what I'm saying here, like, because your music moves me emotionally. It's it just brings me to a different place altogether.
Very cool.
And it's to your eternal credit that you're able
Cheers,
to do
man.
that.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Steve, I'll throw that to you. Is there any particular song there, or two songs even, again, out of that album that you just found, wow,
it's
hairs on the back of the neck moment or whatever, when it's completed, as Paul said, like when the mastering.
I mean, there's a couple of moments, like, it's kind of like it happens whenever like the next iteration of something appears, as Paul said. Like we'd obviously be very similar, and maybe not everybody has this interaction with their own music, but I'm quite happy to have that where you listen and you're like, you just completely zone out. You're like, this is fucking great, and your mind can just do whatever, and it's just a very kind of comfortable place to be in, I suppose. But there's a couple of moments that kind of were interesting for me this time, because, like, say I kind of all hope Paul's putting vocals over that, and there were touch-ups I wasn't aware of. So then I was getting these things coming in, and I was like, okay, that's really cool. And then that meant that I could kind of mull on that, and I went to record the heavy vocals was the last thing I did. I did it over here. I have some of the equipment. So then I put some of that stuff down, but then put some clean harmonies just to see if it worked, and it did work really well. So there's this kind of, I mean, I don't know how to put it, just getting this kind of iterative part where you're getting, okay, that just sounds really cool. It feels really cool to be listening to it again, because it's fresh in your mind, it seems, or the feeling from it is new because there's some new element to it, basically. But all the songs had their moments to shine in my ears, I suppose. I don't know if that's really the right way to put it, but to play in my ears, like, and I went, exactly, because we had to go through and check them all, that you took the time to listen to each one of them and then kind of give it a good listen to, but then also just kind of forgot you were listening to it for any kind of critical purpose, and just like, this is fucking great,
This is me. This is
this is what we did.
Exactly. So I'm going to play a Disentral, and
very good.
Maybe talk about that then afterwards.
Cast aside my pain, the voices wilt away, mystify the fire's call, free now to disenfold.
that was Disenthrall there, everybody. And that was that the first single, lads, was it?
Yep.
Yeah.
First
Okay.
single.
How did that one get picked? Was there one or two candidates? I would have picked another one or two there as well, but I'm just interested to see what was the talk about Disenthrall that made it the first single.
The first
Maybe
two
because of the
tracks.
energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first two tracks, there was the discussion, I think, because they're the more immediate songs. If you're going to pick a single you want, someone's going to catch people's ear.
Yes.
With some really good hooks from Steve.
Mm-hmm.
So then it was down to, I think that as a faster start. That's what I was suggesting, wasn't it?
It's because
it gets there quicker, like.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the other one, the lyrics kick in like a minute and 10 seconds or something after it. So,
okay.
Yes.
So we get more immediacy with everything popping up straight away. Yeah.
Like, the thing about writing a good song is that it tells you something about yourself you don't already know. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that'd be a really good song. Yep.
Yeah.
For
So
sure.
that like the good song is always rushing forward, it reduces to some degree the songs that you previously written because you're moving forward the whole time. I think that's very much the case with you as a band. What are your thoughts on that?
You mean like the more the stuff you're creating more things, and then they're building upon what you had before. That's what you're getting at, is it?
Well, you're pushing forward.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is you're not dwelling on old songs, and if you write a new song, it's telling you something about yourself that you don't already know.
If you put the effort in, I think.
Ideally.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. There's that. Yeah.
I don't think people want to well, okay, it depends on their situation, but I don't think any of us wants to be writing the same thing again, basically. So, or to be telling the same story again, because it's just not, it's not interesting. Like, well, there's more I could say about this, like around the lyrics, but if you're trying to express something and you've done a good job before, why say it again?
Although some bands fall into that trap, Steve, they don't kind of.
And they're really successful
fast
too.
enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, there's that as well, isn't there?
Yeah, I guess that's one thing about the music is that, like some stuff like their Disenthrall hits you immediately, but I think, well, like definitely for myself and Paul and the stuff that we've worked on with other bands and this band, we don't want to just go for anything simple, like
safe,
repetitive, safe. Yes, safe. So where's the fun in that? Like try something new here, build something new, and build from what you know from before, without repeating it, let's say, or build from the same mistake. Don't make the same mistakes, that kind of thing,
Yeah, that's that's what I mean. Just keep moving forward, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
So by the time you get these songs onto the stage, they've grown immensely in an emotional stature, first of all. So it's kind of this beautiful upward journey to write songs, and then they're suddenly amplified on stage. What's that feeling like for you to have got that gig behind you now and to get the audience reaction in Fred's that night?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Like the few gigs we played there for bands since COVID, the energy's been unreal. It's just been so cool. And like you said, Steve said, we never really played a lot of these songs live at all. So it was just so enjoyable. Like you're 2-3 songs that just set and you're like, oh yeah, looking down at the set list, I got to play all these yet. For the different ones. Could have played for longer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could stay up there.
For sure.
Sure, the lads felt the same.
What's your feelings on that, Kieran? To have recorded those songs, working in the studio the whole time, then to find that amplified feeling.
Well, it's fantastic. I mean, because you're there from the bones of it, right until you get up there to bring it to the audience. Now, you already have a kind of an idea from the music that has been released already. You're getting that feedback.
Yes.
And everybody has their opinion. Everybody, you're going to get good and maybe not so good. But for the most part, it has been, really good. I think that people have really enjoyed it, it seems. And then to bring it to the stage and to see, the crowd inside there really getting into it and getting the getting the appreciation after you come down from stage and people approaching you. It's a fantastic feeling, and I think because it is all come from yourself,
Yes.
you know, and that to see what you've created being appreciated and enjoyed, you know, and to kind of play on an emotional level for people is really fantastic. It really feeds back into the group,
Yes.
and it kind of drives you on further, you know, to push it to see where else we can bring it to.
Yes.
And I think that's the same with any kind of artistic endeavor in that once you start, you get your foundations going, and when you have it up on display and you can see the appreciation in there, you know, it's worth all the effort. I'm not going to say it's worth the money, because there's never any money there, because we do it for the love of it.
Yeah.
You know, all of us know it. We do it for the love of it, and when we get that love back, then it's worth every minute. Yeah.
Yes, very true.
Yeah, it's good validation in a way, to be fair. You know.
Yeah.
The other nice little point on that, though, is that, like, just touching back on the fact that we didn't really play much together at all, then that was the first time playing those songs live. The first time, it was almost the first time. It was still sinking in from the night before. Oh, we've got these songs we all play together now. So that experience was almost shared with the audience, as in, like, okay, what's the reaction, or what's the effect going to be from us having this part, or like I don't know, for one part there where I've decided to absolutely scream my head off, which seems to might have come a bit random in a Crucible. Like, what's the audience reaction when half the people probably don't know that song yet?
Yeah.
You know, and then going forward, then it'll be different once we're used to the songs. So at least because it was an album launch, you have that extra special curiosity or finding to have,
and a home crowd all pulling for you.
That makes a huge difference.
Yeah,
to be looking down at all these smiling faces that you can kind of joke with and stuff, you know. So big difference.
Yeah, and it also it kind of translates. It comes across on the stage as well when you're in the middle of something, and you know you can feel that it's going well or what have you. You know, you get to certain bits in the song, and you look across to the other lads, or you get hit by a cymbal behind you and the drums, and you just get it. You can smile at each other and say, "Yeah, it's going well. We're enjoying."
Yeah,
it's, you know.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
I was watching you, Paul, in particular, especially the harmonies you were doing with Steve.
Yeah,
you were smiling away to yourself, delighted that they were coming off well. You know, I could see that in you.
Yeah, I love playing live, and it probably comes across my face.
Yeah,
it's just really, really enjoyable. Like, and I love singing too. So, like, I was saying, when we were jamming, I was doing a bit of singing to help the lads out before Steve could turn up, and I was like, his lines are so cool, you know.
Yeah,
just really, really enjoy joining in. Like,
okay. So, there is a story behind the Crucible? It's up to you to share it, Steve, with us or not. Even just going by the lyrics, even going by the lyrics that I was following it. It's an incredible journey for one character, but what intrigues me, and I hadn't enough time to check it out, is this character story echoed in any other songs in the previous 2 EPs?
I'd say it's only echoed in the previous work, that there's this. So I have this kind of overarching push for figuring things out. I think it's a personal thing, but the same for everybody else. So, like, this person's trying to figure out where they stand in the world, and there's been songs like that before. Like I know The Ascent had some lyrics that way, as in, like, kind of finding yourself or struggling through something. And Defiance had it too. And in this scenario, I mean, I actually nearly wrote a short story for the lads just to explain, because I'm like, I know we can't put the song in this order because at this point he's doing this thing. And they're like, what the fuck is he talking about? Like, so
we're thinking musically, like, and he's thinking the narrative.
Of how to, which was like with the first, the 2 EPs, and then sticking it together in Horizons Fall, that didn't exist. It was still more like a theme that was running through. Whereas here there was, what probably was so enjoyable about it, like writing the lyrics, is that there was like, okay, I want a narrative, but then to fit a theme, you know, these things will happen, and then there's something to sing about that still has this, like, struggle and then release, or something terrible happening, this kind of stuff. Like, so I mean, will I attempt to explain the story?
You can indeed. I just want, there's an important part, I reckon, in it, and where I have it.
It'll turn out to be not important at all.
I know, here we go. Through Fire and Rain, where the character meets this, I suppose it is a woman, but I don't know, is it symbolism for something else as well? Is that a crucial part? Because it seems to have, she has a huge effect on the character.
Yeah, I mean, there's two parts to this, I suppose. I mean, he talks about being safe in the mountains and having found someone who loves him and stuff. Yeah. And I also happen to live next to a mountain. I've moved somewhere with somebody who loves me. So, you know, that's the obvious one, right? Okay. And this definitely was one of the, you know, I mean, it's a love song, right? Yeah. So, you know, I had to pull from my own experiences as in everything in life. But for this particular guy, okay, let's do it briefly. So this character, he's ripped into this existence by some, let's say, a selfish god that wants to create things in his own image in a world where he can't create anything. So he's just creating these constructs, and he's made a perfect being in his eyes. And then he doesn't care about this being at all, just the fact that it's perfect, and he wants to make more of them. So this guy escapes and then wanders through a world where he doesn't look like other people, and he has no frame of reference as how to act or treat people or do anything like that. So he has to learn how to exist in the world and all the norms and stuff like that from scratch. And at the point, the turning point then is when he meets somebody who sees him for more than what he looks like or whatever the case may be. And then, they fall in love and stuff happens. And then unfortunately in the next song, she ends up being burned to a crisp. But like, you know, we have to have some kind of story and up and down. like, so...
And then
my partner's not burnt to a crisp. She's in the other room, so it's all good.
And then the war happens.
The war happens. There has to be a war. Yeah.
But I think one of the small things just on that is that with this whole narrative, in that, you know, people can and do read into these things as what they want to get out of it. But I think that it's an open enough story, and that people can take their own stories and put it into the lyrics that Steve comes up with, you know, that they have their own struggles with, you know, fitting in their worlds as things change and stuff like that, which is nice that people can relate to that as well. And it's not so, the music isn't so intense, you know, in that kind of takes over.
You're right, actually, yes.
Lyrics, which is great. That's the thing that I enjoy, I suppose, most about this kind of, this genre of music, I suppose, and the melodic doom kind of music, and that it's easy, but it's heartfelt as well.
Yeah.
So that you can ride along with it nicely without having to, you know, without any blast beats, you know, distracting you from it, which is nice, beats. I think. It's relaxed. You can drive your car safely with this kind of music, you know.
Yeah. It's in the speed limit. Yeah.
Down low.
Okay, I'm going to play the actual title track now, the Crucible, and we'll just wind it down after that. Okay, here we go.
Now that you're gone, a bittersweet consequence is that I'm free to wander, to gather and to grow. The burden our people have bestowed. I am the one they call the icon of woe.
that section of the song sums up a lot of the album. There has every lovely part in it, and even the death vocals. Steve, did you have much fun playing around with them, or how were you going to portray it? Maybe were you thinking of going deeper, or were you happy enough? Was there any debate in relation to those death growls?
I think there was from before, in like when we first started doing stuff, I was like, how am I going to settle down with these vocals? You know, I tried different things with Corvona, a bit of stuff with Soothsayer. So like what things suited me best. And I seem to have always tended a bit towards that kind of roar, I suppose, roar growl. I'm not sure what you call it exactly. But this time around I was like, I'll throw in some kind of scream or something, you know, to get going. But it had to be something that was sustainable as well. That and we proved that it was sustainable because like I did it in John's place, and he's like, that was a great take. Do another 8 times there now, and then we do that all day. Like, so you know, it had to work, and so it kind of ironed out. But one thing I find is that like you have to be quite comfortable with what you're planning on doing. Like you can't just come in and with heavy vocals and like the clean singing and just go, I'm just going to try whatever, because that won't work as well. You'll fall apart a little bit, or at least for me. So, you know, and you won't have the same power behind it because you'll be uncertain. So, or at least with singing, you're not going to, you're not going to do any damage to yourself. You get it wrong. Like,
yeah.
So.
But in the live entity, that's where it comes to the fore, really, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if that was the best scream I did there in Fred's a few weeks ago, but we'll have time to practice now in the next couple of gigs. So
yes, we'll get to that. I just want to talk a small bit about Pat's review of the album. I just took out a little section of it there, and I think it sums it up nicely. He says, with 9 tracks to mourn and lament upon, the grief have really taken the next step in songwriting and are delivering it with all the splendour and grandeur that this genre of music thrives upon. Always melodic and always striving forward with its emotionally charged atmospherics. Crucible is a minefield of clever chord progressions and subtle key changes that keep the music flowing. And even though it's structurally doom-based, there's more nuances buried deep within that keep you enthralled and locked in. It's quite a good synopsis, isn't it, of the album, lads?
Yeah, it's good. You got enthralled in there too.
You did.
So, yeah.
That's a great review.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So now that you bring it up, gigs, I know that you have. Is the next one then Darkest Hour with the Grief Brigantia in Dolan's?
Yes,
okay. That's the 22nd?
22nd of December.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's the Friday before Christmas, I think. Yeah.
Let's just check that now.
These Friday gigs are killing me for coming home. Let's have a Saturday gig.
Yeah, I'm off that day, but I'm in work the next day. Possibly.
Sure.
Well, actually, because in February, you're another hometown gig.
Yeah.
So that's the Urban Assault. Shout out to Danny and John for organising that. It's with Abaddon Incarnate, Morning Beloved, Strangleware, Astorian Vigil, and Forrune. That's going to be epic.
It's a savage lineup, yeah.
It is.
Yeah, definitely.
You'll see a lot of old heads at that as well, which they tend to come back for certain gigs, don't they? Lads? We won't name names, but there is a few of them out there.
Yeah, Cushkeen is cool for gigs, or Cushkeen, Spalpeen is cool for gigs.
Spalpeen.
Let's go way far back there.
Yeah, Cushkeen.
There's a blast from the past, Paul. Jesus.
Yeah. Is it apartments yet? Or
so turning to apartments now, I think. Yeah, unfortunately,
it's still there as such.
Yep.
When I've been passed around a month ago, shed it here and kept walking.
Yeah.
So they're the 2 gigs at the moment that you have announced, and obviously that's down to your schedule as well, Steve, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff going on during the year, so we really have to like pick and choose when we do stuff. But I think that just works because it's what we do anyway. It's not like this is a band where we're all in our early 20s and like getting, I don't know, like it's like some kind of bad relationship where we have to feel bad about doing stuff with each other and have to do stuff every week and things like that. No, everybody knows what's going on in their own lives. So, you know, and everybody's happy to, and as well, like we're all in a bunch of different bands, and like Barry's and a couple too, right? So we have to see what fits. But I don't think it'll be our last gig that year. We'll have more, I'd say.
Yeah, I'm sure if there was a Siege invitation came your way.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd definitely make it back for that, geez.
Yeah, that's nice to hear. That's nice to hear. So there's merch for sale on the Bandcamp as well. You've brought out another colourful range of T-shirts.
There's plenty of merch up there. There's lovely socks as well if anyone has cold feet this winter.
Brilliant stuff.
Yeah.
So check out the Grief's Bandcamp page. Future plans for the Grief. Basically, you have what you have announced gig-wise. I've got a feeling that there's probably 4 or 5 songs in the locker as well that you can tip away at over the next year or so, as in 2024.
We've plenty of songs, plenty of material. It's kind of more toning them down to what we'll do with them. But there should be not such a long away for the next recording, I think, to be honest. Yeah. But there should be definitely another couple of gigs through the year as well. So they're the current plans anyway. Yeah.
Okay. Just briefly, From the Depths Entertainment, it's a hybrid record label. How did that come about?
That's from us, like, absolutely spamming the shit out of people.
Okay.
So, basically we I think over, I don't know how many years of trying to, get contacts and stuff like that, the lads had found a couple of different sources, and for all those stuff, I put it all together and used my mad magic data science skills to stick it all together and drop the duplicates, and then fire those emails off. So we just basically got a couple of responses pretty quickly, and that was one of them, From the Depths. So I know we were reading it, we're going like, actually this sounds interesting. Like there's no contract as such with them. It's just like you pay and they support you and they give you advice and stuff like that. So it just seemed to really be what we were all looking for, I think.
It's hybrid label, so it's more promotion than traditional label. So it's kind of what people are looking for these days,
Where are they based, lads?
North America.
Okay. I thought they were Europe. All right. Okay.
No,
I think they have some representatives in Europe, but they're mostly in North America now.
Right. Very good.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, I think I was looking into them, but I mean, if they're listening, I'm sorry if that's wrong.
Bang me a text and I'll edit it out, Steve. Okay, lads. So that's it. Shout out to John, who didn't make it tonight, and Barry also, the drummer. Is he going to be mainstay with you? You won't be looking for drummers if there is gigs coming through?
He's playing with the next few gigs anyway.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes then, I suppose.
Yeah. So once again, lads, congratulations on a fantastic album. It's definitely going to be in my top 5 for 2023, unless something mad comes in the next week or two. I wouldn't write it off yet. There's enough releases coming out there, lads. The Irish metal scene has never been so healthy in a long time, and you're adding to it, lads. We're delighted to have you around and contributing some incredible music to the scene. So Stephen, Paul and Kieran, thanks a million for coming on the show.
Thanks, Richie.
Cheers, Richie. It was amazing. Thanks.
Yeah, and crucially, everybody, support your local metal scene. Thank you.